On this episode of Top Drop, the ultimate home brewer. Chris meets a beer surgeon who is a heart brewer.
Thanks for having us over, mate.
No worries at all.
Jay tries instant beer.
What does that taste like?
Delicious.
That looks terrible.
And I drink wine.
That's a bit of a cab sav. Hang on, guys.
From a straw.
Nice way to drink it.
Okay, I'm just moving to that. Okay, yep. Please hold.
Big g'day, welcome to Top Drop. We're here at the fantastic Darebin Food and Wine Festival 2012, spectacular here in Preston, 9 kilometres north of Melbourne. My name's Chris and I've got the superstars here in Nick and Jay. G'day guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Now we've got a magnificent show today, guys. What have we got installed, Jay?
Well, I'm a bit excited because I love festivals, despite the fact that I seem to be walking against the crowd everywhere I go. But I'm looking forward to trying my new one. No. This is instant beer. Just add water. This is going to take off.
He brought this up in the Top Drop meeting, and we all said, Jay, it's the worst idea I've ever heard.
Seriously?
He's determined to have...
I will show people. You just add water. You put the instant beer mix. I've mastered it. We'll get that going later today.
Well, that's the homemade theme, and he's having a go at me because I personally believe that beer, particularly heavier beers, taste better out of a straw. Don't laugh. I haven't tried wine yet, so I'm going to try to plug that at the Homemade Festival. There's nothing like a stout in a straw. If you shut your eyes, it's almost a stout smoothie.
Yeah, you're right. There is nothing like it, you idiot.
Yeah, well, I'm not the one with powdered beer, mate.
Well, I've been very, very privileged this week. Top Drop mission. It is party time here. And in light of the People's Choice Awards, because let's remember, all the other awards being decided today, the best wines, food, and beer, have been decided by the people, the thousands here in the masses this afternoon. And I think in light of the excitement here today, we've got the opportunity to showcase our own personal prizes. So Nick, a little something special for you, mate. First place, congratulations. Been awarded with first place too. Now Jay, this is a little perler, just to get you lined up.
Third, right, thank you.
Now, I'm scared to ask,
what?
why?
Well, the aim of the Top Drop mission is that everyone we have a chat to, we have got to convince them and persuade their interest to our fantastic ribbon and tell them a random, far-out story about what prize we won and what competition. So
Well, that's quite simple. I'm third place, so it's clearly the awards for the worst television presenters, and I come runner-up to you boys.
Well, that's right. I got the first of the... It's terrible, Jay. That's a horrible thing to say. So we can say anything we like. So I can say I won this in a butterfly naming competition or a bird feeding competition. Is there such a thing as a bird feeding? Probably not.
Oh, well, we'll certainly find out today. So see how you go. Let's hit the masses out here in Preston today at the Preston City Hall venue. Let's bring the viewers just a little bit of excitement of what's here this afternoon.
So I'm here with Andrew Hay, who won, unofficial second prize, we're going to call it, for his porter on that one. It's a nicer term, second, than what they said. So
yeah, encouragement. That's not very fair.
Well, yeah, it doesn't quite sound right on that one there.
That's all right.
Although I probably could do with some with the way I've been going today. But anyway.
So the encouragement award and a hamper from 3 Ravens. I love that we've got a local brewery from Darebin. I love that. From 3 Ravens goes to Andrew Hay Porter.
tell us a bit about the background of the beer and how you got involved.
Okay, yeah, well, I started brewing a couple of years ago. I actually won the competition a couple of years ago with some of my first brews. It was actually a porter that I entered, but it was, I don't bottle anymore, I use the keg, so I put it in this baby here, which I've got underneath.
Just bring that thing over.
Yeah,
It's
giant.
I just want the mouthpiece.
Yeah, you want the, oh, I see.
That'd be right.
Siphon it all in there. And so I don't put much effort into bottling anymore, so I had to get an old one. So it was about a year old, that beer, almost. So,
Tell us about some of the people you've come across though today.
well, there was definitely a lot of homeless people, I'm sure, coming in for a free food and a free beer. I'm sure I saw people who had just come off the streets and gone for it, but well, there was lots of lovely people. There were people that managed to find, these are the tasting glass, you see, a nice little size of beer. There were people that were coming around with the polystyrene cups for water, for beer, so I see there was a few shifty little guys in there, but well, it's tasty beer, so why wouldn't you?
And this is your Cab Sav, yeah?
Cab Sav, 2010.
Yeah.
2010 Cab Sav.
It's so something special about a homemade wine, isn't there? Like you sort of, you know, you can go to your big stores and buy a bottle of wine, and it's not the same. And you've had that thing sitting in your cellar for a little while, or just above the fridge, and you know, you just know there's something special about it.
Absolutely. Look, there's one thing obviously to get it to this particular point. We're actually quite amazed that it got to this particular point. We always thought it'd be, you know, almost non-drinkable. We thought it'd be more vinegar-like, but to actually get it to this point, and the process in order to do that too was a lot of fun. The kids were involved, and yeah, just the whole process going through was really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a Cab Sav. Can I give it a go?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll have to try it. That's a bit of a Cab Sav. Hang on, guys.
Nice way to drink it.
No, fair enough there. Well, I want to run an idea past you.
Yeah.
If you can just hold this for a
Yeah,
sec.
sure.
All right. Instant beer.
Instant beer.
Instant beer.
So, because it takes me a while to brew it, so you could be onto something.
All over the place. You know, just going to put that back.
Third. What'd you win third place for? The instant beer?
No, that was for a hamburger bun buttering competition.
A hamburger bun buttering competition.
It didn't go too well. I was using a plastic knife, and the others they were using the stainless steel. So I think that's where I went wrong.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you remember to bring your better knife next time.
That's it. So I don't think I'll be entering one of those in a hurry again. But this is one that I've been working on for a little while now.
Yeah.
You get like instant soup, instant coffee. I'm just trying this instant beer.
Instant beer.
It's in a little satchel. Wonder if I get an encouragement award for this.
Yeah, maybe.
Try that again. I don't want to get it all over the table.
Maybe you get your butter knife out that you won the buttering competition with.
Prefer my beer shaken, not stirred.
I can see.
So I like beer. It's
Now, what does that taste like?
delicious.
That looks terrible.
You're proud of your dad's efforts with your wine?
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a great job.
Yeah, he has. It is nice, actually. I really enjoy that, particularly through the straw.
We didn't win an award though, Nick. I'm a bit shattered about that.
Yes, well...
And we didn't bring an entourage. Like, we only bought ourselves. We should have rallied up a few troops, I reckon, and just help the old voting process. But
That's right. No, this award's a special one. It was actually for a baby contest that I won in '82, and I like wearing it because it makes me eat a bit healthier, and it reminds me of better times. You know.
lovely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks very much, and hopefully there's some awards all around. And thanks for being a part of Top Drop.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Next, the ultimate homebrewer, and more Top Drop missions.
This was third place in a Ray Martin wig wearing competition, which I thought was flawed. Ray Martin actually got second, and Eric Banner got first.
Welcome back. While Jay and I were looking for Chris, we popped outside for a serious conversation.
it was really that bad that those kind of things had to be said about my idea. But,
Well, the term awful was used a few times.
well, I can handle awful, but I'm just thinking it's, you get instant soup, you get instant coffee. Like, why not have instant beer? People are wanting homemade. It's just...
I think people in general are closed-minded. Like, when I told them that I enjoy beer through a straw, they were...
Well, see, I'm seeing your point of view now.
Yeah, it's good,
And
isn't it?
nobody can see it. It's very...
I'm not feeling too well, guys.
Yeah.
What's going on, Chris?
I need to make an appointment. I'm going to make an appointment with Dr. Beer.
Dr. Beer.
Yeah, look, I had a chat with one of the guys in there. He's a home brewer. I think I'm going to go down and say good day to him. Let's check out his nice home brewer kit, find out a few about his brews, and give viewers a bit of an insight into just what he's all about.
I saw you talking to him. He looks really interesting. He's a surgeon.
He is.
Of beer.
Well, we're going to find out then, aren't we?
I didn't know you could get a doctorate of beer. That's really exciting.
Getting excited. Hey.
No, you can't get a doctorate in beer. We were just talking about our ideas being shot down.
These days.
Well, that might cure your ale if you come along and try some of the cold ones. Actually, I'm going to let you guys suffer. I'm going to go out and enjoy at my appointment with Dr. Beer and enjoy a few nice cold ales. And just enjoy your time. Right?
Enjoy it, Chris.
Fine, we'll just... But seriously, like, they're good ideas.
Maybe how you go, mate?
How you go, mate?
Come on in. Thanks, mate. Well, we want to really find out about how a home brew is really made. We're here with a homebrew expert, Remy Kowalski. Thanks for having us over, mate.
No worries at all.
Nice cold ones to get us going,
absolutely.
mate. Brew it, not
Appropriate time of the day.
Exactly, lunchtime, just getting really warmed into it, and we've had a blast over at the other festival over here. But we're here today to sort of find out about how your concoctions, your delicious concoctions, were made, and I understand the other half might have just had a little bit of an influence, mate.
Yeah.
Tell us how you got into it.
Well, maybe about 5 years ago, I'd finished some big exams for work and wasn't really up to much. Spending most nights sitting on the couch watching TV, mooching around the house, and she got a bit sick of that, and she thought I needed a hobby. So she bought me one of those Cooper's startup kits. Which is pretty basic, and I sort of enjoyed that for a few months, realised that making beer was actually quite a bit of a laugh, and started looking into doing it a bit more seriously, and pretty much now, 5 years later, it's taken over the house, it's taken over the backyard, but it's all her fault, so she just has to deal with it. So thankfully she loves beer, so it's not a problem. For a house a couple of years ago, the main criterion actually was there has to be somewhere for the brewery. If the brewery can't fit, we're not looking at it.
Yeah, was that her idea or yours?
That was more my idea.
Well, there's one say you got to have in
exactly
having the place. Now, when it comes to taking things seriously, you've probably got a bit of a serious job. Let's be honest. You are a cardiologist out at the Royal Children's Hospital. A very interesting job. How did you sort of get into that?
I obviously did medicine to start with, and always liked the sort of plumbing and mechanics to do with hearts.
Yep.
And with children's hearts, the plumbing and the mechanics gets quite complicated. So it's a nice job because you get to be a sort of a doctor and you look after children, but there's also a sort of mechanical plumbing aspect to it, which makes it a bit industrial and fun.
So that's how you sort of combine the two together. You can
That's right.
do it for saving lives, and here you can do it for saving lives because you're quenching your thirst.
Exactly,
Obviously.
quenching your thirst is very important.
Hello and welcome back. I'm here with Gaetano, one of the organisers of the Darebin Homemade Food and Wine Festival. He started the festival 8 years ago, so we're very lucky to have him on camera. Gaetano, welcome.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me on. Yeah.
No worries, mate. And how did it come about?
Oh, look, it came about. I used to be involved with the Darebin Ethnic Communities Council, which is an umbrella organisation of the ethnic communities in the city of Darebin. And it was thought that it was a good idea to have a wine festival because it's a tradition that's been made by migrants for the last 40 or 50 years. And we thought it would be great to make them the protagonist and to bring them out and so they could show their wares and show what sort of wine they're making at home.
Gaetano, tell me about the food demonstrations and the cooking demonstrations.
Yeah, this year what we tried out is a few food demonstrations and also a few workshops to show people some homemade recipes. And the idea was, what's cooked back in people's kitchens is to bring it out here and to show people the value of doing things, following those old-time home recipes.
Yeah.
And it's a way of also valuing and celebrating the traditions of what migrants have brought to this country.
Absolutely. Yeah. Multiculturalism is the key to any great society.
Exactly right, and the way to create that great respect between people. Usually it's over a glass of wine or a glass of beer and some nice food around you, and there's smiles all around. What is that thing there? You didn't win the first prize. First prize went to somebody else.
No, this is a first prize. It's a confidence thing. If I take it off, I get very nervous, and there's times where I've ended up in straitjackets and all sorts of things. But if I don't wear it, so I've got to wear it. It's a symbol of confidence, fertility, love, peace. All the rest of it. So
I just don't understand how that all fits.
Now talk us through some of the processes. You went through, obviously, you started off with the basic kit.
Yeah, started with the basic kit, yep.
And what sort of a gear did you get from there?
Well, from there I sort of started to look into making the beer from scratch. So in brewing parlance, that's called all grain brewing.
Yep.
So you're buying grain rather than sugar, rather than syrup.
Mm-hmm.
And initially I had a very simple setup in the kitchen on the kitchen stove,
yep,
with a 25 litre pot and just using the kitchen element. It made beer.
Yep.
It made a bit of a mess of the kitchen, but it made beer and it was fine. And I did that probably for about 6 or 9 months and realised that this was probably something I'd do lifelong.
Yep.
And so I went a little bit crazy and invested in a fairly serious setup for the backyard. I've actually sourced the parts from the brewery from probably 5 or 6 different places.
Yep.
And that's part of the fun, depending on what sort of room you've got, whether you're brewing in an apartment or a shed, dictates on the size of the gear you're going to get and how you're going to arrange it.
Going into too much about the figures, and obviously there's a lot of home brewers out there, or youngsters or people who want to go out there and take the step. Was it a relatively costly procedure? I think you've sort of gone out of the limb.
I've sort of gone probably the Rolls Royce,
mm-hmm,
in a way, but you can certainly get into it far cheaper than I did.
Yep.
And the basic setup that I was using to begin with, which made perfectly good beer, was probably only about a couple $100 investment. And when you think about the trade-offs in the price of the beer that you're making, it costs me somewhere between $1 and $2 a litre to make beer.
Wow.
So that's like buying a slab for somewhere between $8 and $15.
That's really, really cheap. And you get a bit more productivity out of it at the end of the day as well.
Absolutely.
And just combining it back with work as a cardiologist, you are sort of putting, with pumps and everything like that. It's very much a similar sort of process.
This one on the right, it's an English brown ale, so this maybe leans more towards the malty side.
Mm-hmm.
It's not particularly hoppy, just a bit of bitterness from English hops, whereas the beer on the left is sort of my house ale, which is a bit of a mix of styles. It's a bit of an Australian style ale because it's got some Australian hops in it,
yep,
but it's also a bit American, it's also a bit English because it's made with English yeast. So it's a bit of a bastard.
And with the old house ale as well, you've made this more than once.
Yep.
It's one of your old
favourites. It's the only beer I've made more than once. In 5 years of all grain brewing, I keep liking to try new recipes and new styles. This is the only one I've come back to so far.
So it's one of your favourites?
I think so, yeah. I've decided I always have a tap of that on at the house, and then have the other taps with something more interesting.
It goes down really well. Really nice, smooth, delicious taste.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful. Talk us through about some of the basic procedures, where you start and how you get to the end.
In terms of making a beer from scratch,
Yep.
well, essentially, we're quite lucky in Victoria. There's a couple of good stores where you can source the raw ingredients, those being malted barley,
Yep.
sometimes a bit of malted wheat as well. The colour of the beer is mainly made up on the grain choices that you make and the proportion of pale and roasted grains.
Yep.
So once you've come up with your recipe, and there's lots of places to come up with recipes, the internet being, of course, the number one place to get ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You then come up with your recipe for the beer, which is made out of a choice of grains that you're using, a choice of hops, and then the yeast. And both the grains, the yeast, and the hops, all three of those lend character to the beer and have different influences on the final product.
Okay.
And so a basic brew day involves mixing the grain with water
Yep.
at somewhere between 65 and 70 degrees in general, depending on the style of beer.
Yep.
That happens for about an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
The enzymes in the grain release sugars from the grain, and you end up with sweet brown or light brown coloured water,
Depending on
what you're making.
Yep.
That then gets sent to a kettle, being a big vessel. That's how I'm doing it,
Yep.
but there are different ways to do it depending on your setup. And then that boils for about an hour or so, and depending on the style, again, hops are added. Some beers have more hops because they're bitter beers, like India Pale Ales, and others might have very little hops in them, such as wheat beers.
Yeah.
So after an hour, you've got this now bitter and also sweet brown coloured water, which is called wort.
Yeah.
And that's now sterile. It's been boiling for an hour. The flavours have all come together, and then it's a case of chilling it, pumping it over to a fermenter, adding the yeast of your choice, and then being patient for a couple of weeks.
You've got this little thing, was it 40 panels or something squeezing?
Yeah. So again, there's many different ways of chilling beer.
Yeah.
Some people will chill beer with a coil that they pump the beer through in a bucket of cold water. In my case, I have a heat exchanger, which is a 40 stainless steel plates brazed together that are rippled, such that the hot beer runs in one side.
Yep.
Well, it's wort, it's not fermented
Yep.
yet. The hot wort runs in one side, and tap water runs the other side, such that beer goes in at 100 degrees and comes out at tap water temperature, which for an ale is pretty much ready for the yeast to be added and you're good to go. But there are other ways to do it. You certainly don't have to get that complicated. There are people that simply store the beer in a plastic container overnight, and by the next day it's ready to be fermented, and they tip it in their fermenter. So again, depending on your circumstances, how much room you have, whether you've got a tank that you can use for chilling water, you can adapt your setup.
Well, you've got your tank in the fridge, and with your two different ales, something I'm a little bit keen to find out a bit more. You chill them at different temperatures.
Yep.
You chill the ale itself is 18 degrees, and the lager down to 10 degrees.
That's right.
What's the reasoning behind that?
So the yeasts that ferment lagers and ales are fundamentally different. Although they're of the same broad yeast species, they're actually from multiple different little subspecies and tolerate temperature to different degrees.
Yep.
In simple terms, an ale is a beer made with a top fermenting yeast, so that the yeast that's doing the active fermentation sits on the top of the wort as it ferments, whereas a lager is a bottom fermenting yeast. And of course, people only knew about microbiology for about the last 130 or 40 years. So before that, no one knew any of this, and it was just magic. If there's any sort of kit brewers out there, one of the big tips that can make your kit beer taste a lot better is to control the temperature. So even if you've got a simple Cooper's kit, if you're fermenting in summer in Victoria and it's in your garage and it hits 40 degrees, it's probably not going to taste very good. So if you've got the laundry tub and a bit of ice, it's a good idea to keep it a bit cooler.
Now I understand you've won a few awards over your time.
Well, I have noticed that little pink ribbon you're wearing there. I was going to ask you what that's all about.
It's one of my greatest pride and joys. I won this in the bikini model contest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing the photos from that one. my only beer award, I know you guys were at the Darebin Homebrewers Wine and Beer Festival in 2010. I won what I like to call second place, but what was actually called the Encouragement Award.
Oh.
But I'm saying it was second place, and that's what's really cool.
Oh, first place? Well, I'm a war veteran that came back from a troubled country, and I missed the most amount of civilians and shot the most amount of bad guys and got first prize.
Third most hundreds of thousands eaten one by one in a minute.
What?
What, this one? I got this in a competition who could do the freakiest thing with an apple pie. Jason Biggs come second.
It was the snort like a pig competition. Yeah. Thankfully though, because I'm Gemini, I also got second prize as well. But the strange thing was there was only 2 of us involved.
What, this one? I got this in the most indecisive person competition. Although I'm not sure what the competition was for. I'm not even sure if it's a competition. I'm not even sure if this is actually a ribbon. Is it pretty in pink?
This? What? Oh, I got 3rd place in a cutting the lawn with scissors competition. It wasn't a very big lawn, thankfully, but it was tough all the same.